Welcome everyone to GamerStation's Browser Games of the Week for the week of January 8th. And I'm your host, Steven SnakeYukin Lindsey. Indeed, we've been gone for quite a while and we're finally back. Now, we have a nice long list as we usually do this week, so let's get right into it. Do you like Tetris, but want something that's a little different and, well, to be frank, easier? Then Monotris might be for you. Your goal is to create the usual Tetris shapes, but you gotta create them from 1 to 3 block shapes that are attached together. The only problem is that you must create these shapes in the order they appear in the queue. If you create one that isn't the one at the top, then those won't be knocked off the list. Okay, I really wouldn't think I'd be recommending this, as it seems to have this air of it's an educational game teaching kids math feel to it. Then after playing it a bit, I found myself several times having to really think about the answers. The game is simple. You're given a set amount of numbers and are allowed to add, subtract, multiply, divide, and put these numbers together, and you have to use all of them to equal another number. Indeed, it is simple to learn, but solving some of these puzzles can be quite hard, especially later on. The good part of this game is it isn't really math-centered. The bad part is, it's a puzzle game, so there's still thinking involved. If you play the original Liquid Measure 2, then you know how to play this one. You must guide an X amount of black liquid to canisters in each level. You do so by using different pipes and make sure that the right amount of liquid gets in those canisters or it'll overflow. This game isn't easy either, especially if you haven't played the previous one like me. Do you remember Tamagotchis? If so, then Digimon Deep Portal will be very reminiscent for you. Possibly of the fact of how your father forgot to take care of your R2-D2 Tamagotchi for you. Or maybe that's just me. For those that are too young or don't know, Tamagotchis were things that were more or less something that you had to feed and take care of until they died, then you repeated the cycle over and over and over again. Somehow this was entertaining. And Deep Portal does that well, though it happens a lot faster, and the odds are you probably won't know which thing does what at the very beginning. This is worth a look just for old time's sakes or because you like Digimon. Everyone wants to be a ninja and thinks they're cool. I'm really not sure why myself. You get to play as one of those assassins of the night who was sent to kill the guy who locked himself on the first floor of a tower. How stupid do you have to be? But considering everyone has to go through the roof of this very tall building to get there, I guess it's not so stupid after all. The levels in the game are procedurally created, meaning no run will ever be the same because, well, each time you play, the levels are randomly created. I'm not actually sure if the tower actually has a bottom anyways. This 3D isn't the type of 3D that Wolfenstein 3D promised us oh so long ago. No, it's that fancy 3D involving stupid glasses. Does it work? Kind of. It's a racing game involving squarish looking vehicles, and all you gotta do is get to checkpoints before the time runs out, which sometimes can actually be a little hard starting off. If you're wanting the greatest racing game out there, this isn't it. But if you want one that has the gimmick of 3D, you can turn it off if you want to, and is an alright racer, then this is for you. You've probably played one of these puzzle games in which you have to build up a structure using only a select amount of shapes, and it must remain balanced by the end of it. Now, Imperfect Balance 2, like the original, puts you in the reverse shoes of having to make as many of those shapes fall off screen by using select shapes and bombs. Some guy busts through your wall, and before he can explain anything, he is whisked away by a crab, leaving behind his super powerful laser gun. So what do? Go back to watching TV? No, you go after that crab, save the guy, and do it all before supper time. The game is actually a platformer that you have to use your super powerful laser gun to boost yourself in the air to get over obstacles, get on platforms, avoid spikes, and much, much more. The only downside is, well, that mechanic can be quite annoying and hard to use, but at least it's short. Do you remember looking through kaleidoscopes when you were a young lad or lass? Perhaps you made your own in school like I did. Collide is a puzzle game that involves you creating those kaleidoscope figures. Just drag shapes onto the right scope until it matches the pattern on the left. We've had math, so why not something English related now? Your brother has been turned into an owl, and you have to create words. And this somehow will turn him back into human. I kind of skipped the story, but that's not the point of the game. You're given several rows and columns of letters, and you gotta drag these letters around to create 4+ letter words. You can only drag these letters horizontally though. You can't have it too easy now, can you? Here's another racing game, but this one isn't in 3D, nor is it so much of a race as getting to the end of the level. You control a neon bike, which has a unique ability to change its color during the course of the track, which you'll need too. See, there are several parts of the track that you can't go over unless your vehicle is the right color, so expect to fall off the tracks when you didn't notice that the track changed colors. Also, it's one of those racing games that you'll likely turtle your bike quite often. With that said, each track is short and it'll keep you on your toes. You are Piggy Orson, a monk pig, or perhaps a pig monk, or maybe even pink. You're awakened one day to find that your temple has been flooded, and now there are creatures running around the place. It's up to you to deflood the place and get rid of the creatures, or at least the boss monsters because they don't respawn. With over 70 rooms and 4 bosses, this won't be the shortest adventure you've had. On the negative side though, some of the hit detection is off and thus certain enemies will damage you though you clearly jumped on them, or you'll hiccup and slide off of certain objects. It's the classic sling thing to certain object in as few throws as you can type of game. This time it involves launching ragdolls on a catapult with balls, big or small, left or right or middle. It's all up to you. Unlike other games in the genre, you have to get a certain amount of your ragdoll to the goal. Usually this is 70%. Sometimes it can take several throws to get to that goal. You just keep falling and falling and falling and falling and falling, and you need to avoid those yellow beams while trying to hit those green and purple objects for extra points and the blue ones for extra shields. That's about all there is to the game. You're just going for the high score and bragging rights, though it somehow reminds me of another game. Now what better way to end our first week back than to end with a tower defense game. This one involves a war between corporations, and not the verbal kind or involving money either. For those that don't know how these games play, this is how it goes. You have a certain destination that you need to prevent several waves of enemies from getting to. To defend it, you put up several towers and constantly purchase new ones and upgrades for the ones you have. This one really doesn't add anything new to that little equation, but it's not a bad tower defense game. And that brings us to our new segment that we're calling Classic Browser Game of the Week. This is where we pick a classic browser game, one that's over a year old, that we still like to play to this day. And or should I say my pick for the very first week is You Have to Burn the Rope. There's just something about this game. Perhaps it's just its simplicity. You can beat the game in less than 30 seconds, but it's still enjoyable within that time span. Although this might be caused because there's a nice catchy little ending song to it. The best way to explain this is, to understand why it's so enjoyable, you just need to play the game and burn the rope. And with that, we come to the end of our list for this week. Now, for those that don't know, each and every Sunday we're going to be putting up a new video in this series. So subscribe to us to be up to date on all of those videos, as well as our previews, reviews, contests, giveaways, and anything else that may be happening within our little world. Also, if you felt that a game came out this week but should have been on a list, simply just leave a comment with a link to the game because, well, usually we have to cut off a few games because our list gets a little too long. Also, if you want to be up to date on indie games, then maybe consider following us on Twitter at GamerStation, on Facebook, or even just bookmarking our webpage at gamerstation.tk.